The Team Never Quit podcast is sponsored by Navy Federal Credit Union. Visit NavyFederal.org/celebrate to check out member-exclusive offers during Military Appreciation Month. Hey, TNQ Nation, welcome back to another episode of the Team Never Quit podcast. My name's Andrew. I'm the regular guy. Turning the knobs behind the computer
regular
screen.
Guy.
I got a patch. I got a patch that says a regular guy.
Joined by Morgan Luttrell. Hey guys, welcome back.
Howdy.
What's happening?
Hey guys, we're excited to have Ryan Michler on today's show. Ryan is the host of
Order of Man.
the Order of Man podcast. He's a father of four, proud husband, and his movement is to return and reclaim and restore masculinity. And his show is awesome. He's awesome. We can't wait till you hear today's interview. But before we do, we have the thing we always do, which is the Patreon question of the day. Today's Patreon question of the day comes from Molly, a little bit more serious than normal. She says, what do you believe to be the best way to get involved? She says, I let myself get overwhelmed at times, and I'm really not sure what direction to take or which organization to support. My heart has always been for our military, but what is the best way the average person can help, and where is the most need?
There's so many intangibles to that question. There's everything from sex trafficking to military to homeless children, I would say find something that, for me, like when I'm watching TV, a commercial comes on and it grabs me by the heartstrings. Like when we interviewed the podcast to do the sex trafficking, I was like, I gotta help. I gotta get involved. I gotta help. I don't know if I can donate money. I gotta donate my time. So for Molly, I would say if you can find something, number one, that pulls at your heartstrings, number two, that you can literally stomach, because there will be some things that are hard to get your head around. And the best way to get involved is most of these nonprofit organizations that are doing something special to help people will have fundraising events that you can attend where you don't necessarily have to give money. You can just give your time. Every single nonprofit lives and breathes off of volunteers.
That's right. Yeah, I think volunteering is a great way for anyone to get started. Like you said, find an organization that you personally, the message resonates with you, and then just start by giving your time. See what the organization's all about. See what they're doing. See if you feel like their values line up with your values, and then...
Because then you're not really working. And it's not something that you're forced yourself to do. You really enjoy it. Marcus and I really enjoy the veteran community. We really enjoy getting behind the veterans in need, behind the nonprofits that we're associated with. Yeah.
And most importantly, you're not average. You're above average. Because if you're asking yourself that question, average people don't ask that. And when you get overwhelmed, which direction are you getting overwhelmed in? The forward or the backwards? Because when you step into something and it's like you get overwhelmed, you know what direction you're going to go. If you step into something and it gets overwhelming and drags you into it, you're supposed to be there. And if it gets overwhelming and pushes you away, then that's supposed to be a thing too. I mean, remember, it's like when you're driving a car, man. You got the park, neutral, drive, reverse, and manual, and then you can move your head around on purpose. So you just start moving forward. Just keep showing up, and eventually, something will call to you. It will, and then a lot of times, man, the first thing that pushes you away is the one thing you kind of grab back towards. I mean, and it's okay to get overwhelmed. It lets you know you're stepping into something new. It's overwhelming bliss is what it turns into. And everybody around you, I mean, you lose your clarity, do some charity, and charity hurts. So but it's important.
Yeah, and start in your inner circle. Post, if you're using Facebook or Instagram, post on your own social accounts and say, hey, I'm looking for a military organization local to me that I'd like to support. In the comments, tell me which ones that you support. And that might be a great way for you to discover one that's a little bit more local to you. Maybe one that's got a smaller team of volunteers that might need your help more than some of the large organizations that exist. And there's nothing wrong with the big ones, but the little ones definitely need support and volunteers too.
And there is this. Life should always be an adventure. If you're somewhere and you can't find your spot, ask somebody if they want to go on a road trip and just start driving and you'll run into something that will catch your attention and it'll find you. If you can't find it, it'll find you. And I mean, have fun with it. Those are the best stories. Those are the best adventures. And those pass downs are just so valuable to everybody else because it was the unknown that led you into it. And then what you pulled out of that is unbelievable. I mean, that's every story when you're like, man, I didn't know what was going on. I stepped into something, the darkness, and I came out with all this. So it's supposed to be tough, and it's supposed to leave a lasting impression. Just don't let anything get you hung up to where it keeps you in the moment. Don't become the time remnant that you left the day prior. Remember, that one's gone, and we don't have no idea if tomorrow's coming. So when you wake up and you're going, seize the day, and then when you save it at the end of the day, when you lay down, make sure what you left behind is worth remembering. But great question, Molly. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Molly. If you want to ask your question every single time we record podcast episodes, if you're a member of our Patreon community, you'll get the first access to drop your questions where we ask them on the show. If you want to join us, you get some cool bonus content, exclusive episodes, super sweet swag, a cool challenge coin, all kinds of cool things. Join us at patreon.com/teamneverquit. All right, let's get to Ryan.
Can you see? Are we on screen?
Yeah.
We on screen? So you see us too?
Yeah, I can see you guys.
I'm a good 6 to 8 months, 6 months maybe, and then I freak out because I can't get my beard right, and it's usually I trim it and I miss it and I go all the way to skin. I got to shave. How do you have an epic beard, bro? And
I took a bunch of it off. I don't know if you can see that or not, but yeah, I took like 6 inches off my beard.
Okay, so I have a drawer full of balm, oil, brushes, combs. What do you recommend? And do you start it from like naked skin on? What's going on here?
Yeah. All right. So you got to get past the itchy stage. That's number one. Because I can't. Your microphone's right in the way. Let me take a look real quick. Can you move your mic?
Yeah, I gotta.
Oh, you're past the itchy stage.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. So you got to get past that. Then, you use a beard oil, but instead of just putting it on your beard, like rub it into your skin. That's really important. So rub it into your skin, not just the beard.
Okay.
And then from there, use a boar hairs brush. That's what you want. A boar's hair brush.
Got it. Yep.
Good. Use that a day or a couple of times a day. And outside of that, just let the thing rip, man. That's it.
Don't touch it. Just let it go.
Just let it go. Yeah, don't pick at it either. That's what a lot of people do is they like mess with it and pick at it, and it just ends up looking gross. So don't do that either.
Man, I just recently had, I was grooming mine, messed up, so I had to take it all off.
Like 2 days ago.
Everybody's like, why'd you shave? I was like, why does an idiot guy shave? Screws it up while he's manicuring it and he has to take it down. And I also went through the stages of loss. Like I went through the Wolverine, and then I had the half face with the as you're shaving it down. That's a thing, right? I'm not the only one that does that, right?
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, no, that's a thing for sure.
Oh, okay, thank God. Sometimes my brother looks at me and I'm like, oh, what I just said.
I had no idea what you were talking about.
I know you do it because I do it.
Well, I didn't know what you were talking about, but yeah, I do it.
So Ryan, some quick introductions. Morgan Luttrell, that's who you got over there.
Yep.
Marcus Luttrell, no
What's
beard.
up, brother?
My name's Andrew. I'm the producer. I'm behind the camera. But
cool.
Marcus, you want to explain kind of how we do the format?
Yeah, bro. So thank you again for doing this. Welcome to the T&Q family, right? And we like to say you earn your spot in out here is because you had to go through some tough stuff in life, and you kind of came out and you kept going, you persevered, and you made something yourself. Everybody who comes here is going through a hard time or has been through one, and we just kind of lay all out on the table. There's no gotcha questions or anything like that, bro. It's just us getting to know each other, hanging out in kind of in the living room. So if there's something you want to talk about, you want to ask us. If you don't want to talk about it, that's fine, man. Just make yourself at home.
Right on. Yeah, I'm an open book, so whatever you guys want to do, we can do it. We'll get into it.
Okay.
That. And you cuss whatever you want. We're good with that too. What was my
perfect?
We start out. All right, you guys ready to rock?
Yeah, we're ready to rock.
Ready to jam?
Welcome to the show, Ryan.
Yeah, glad to be here. Looking forward to it today, guys.
All right, we start our T&Q podcast out with what we call the Mad Minute. I don't know if you've heard about that, but it's just a series of random questions that like to get the cognitive juices flowing. There's no right or wrong answer. Matter of fact, there may be questions you don't even come up with an answer. So we'll kick it off. My first one is name something on your bucket list that you haven't accomplished yet.
Very simply, fly in a fighter jet. That's been something I've wanted to do for a long time. So if anybody's listening to this can make that happen, that's something I want to do.
It's so much fun. It is so much fun.
Is it? So you've done it, yeah.
Marcus flew with the Angels.
I flew with the Angels one time. People don't think we have them. Yeah, we do. They're blue. And them suckers can get it. I mean, dude, he knocked me out like he was driving to the grocery store. We had a blast.
Right.
So yeah, we'll try to help you out with that too, man.
Mark makes calls on it. There's no way in hell I'd get in one. No,
well, that's actually something I've been thinking about, something I'd actually shave my beard for. Like I wouldn't shave my beard for a lot, but that's one thing if they required me to do it, to have that mask fit just right if needs be, that's something I would do it for.
And just shave.
Have you been in a biplane? Propeller? Because you need to put the goggles on with that beard and get the biplane and take a video of that.
There you go.
Because it probably wasn't scarves back in the day that were flowing behind dudes. It was their beards.
Just their beards.
Their beards, right? And the guys who couldn't grow the beard, they had the scarf.
You got one?
I did, but we just started talking about it, maybe forget it. Oh, hey, so what's one of the most embarrassing moments you've had on a date?
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
And do you have any pre-date rituals, like push-ups in the bathroom?
Yeah, pre-date. It's been so long since I've been on a date. A date with my wife, of course, but I've been married for almost 18 years now.
Yeah, that's why it's okay to talk about your embarrassing date moments.
Yeah, for sure. It's everything's secure, right? I don't have to worry about that. Man, I might have to circle back to that one because I can't think of anything I did like that was overly embarrassing. I really can't. It would be hard for me to think of that one.
It's probably because nothing's embarrassing to us,
dude. That's a good one. That's a good question. Mine was.
It is a good question.
Mine was I had a power poopy on deck, and I went in the parking lot of the Outback, and I ended up shitting on the back of my pants, and I didn't know it.
Oh,
dude, I was on a daytime date and had a case of the right nows, and every store I ran into, no one had a bathroom. I ran out to the middle. There was a 4-lane road freeway and had a median with shrubs. Oh, no, that time at Luby's.
In the
bathroom.
I don't know. We should tell that story.
Okay, dude, that's hilarious.
All right, awesome, man. Let's start jamming. That's awesome. All right, can we kick us off, Andrew?
Yeah, let's do it. So Ryan, for those of you that you don't know, that Ryan is the host of the Order of Man podcast, and obviously that we'll jump into that further. But why don't you give us some background? Kind of tell us a little bit about your upbringing.
Yeah, my upbringing, I'm kind of probably the least qualified to talk about what it means to be a man. I was raised without a father figure in my house, and so, man, I really struggled. Like, my mom did a wonderful job raising me, but, I didn't know how to relate with guys or have any sort of, male influences until I got into high school. And then I had some great coaches that lined me out pretty well. I joined the National Guard when I was 17, did an active duty tour in Iraq in 2005. I learned from a lot of one of my section chiefs, in fact. Learned a lot about what it meant to be a man through the military, through sports, through coaches and mentors and things like that. But I blossomed late in life a little bit because I didn't have that male influence at home. That's actually a big reason why I started this podcast, is to help me, not anybody else, but to help me get on track and figure some things out for myself. And if I was doing it, I figured I'd publish it and make it available for everybody else to learn from too. So that's where we're at.
There you have it.
Yeah, sometimes if you don't get one issued at birth, you go find them.
Well,
go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, that's exactly right. It's kind of nice too, because especially with podcasting and social media and the internet, is like we can find a lot of solutions to our own problems and then make a very lucrative, fulfilling, rewarding career out of it. And that's essentially what I did, is solve my own problems, make it available for everybody else. And those guys who have the same problems I do can jump on board and we can deal with this thing together.
You literally created an order of man by not having one. Kind of blank slated it. That's brilliant. Nice work.
Yeah, man. It's good. It's been really good.
So you didn't have the stereotypical, quote unquote, bad childhood. I obviously read your story and listened to a couple of your episodes of your show. How did not having that permanent male role model in your life shape where you're at now?
Yeah, it's interesting because you say you didn't have that bad childhood, and that's exactly right. It seems like everybody I hear from, they had this horrible childhood or this big traumatic experience that happened, and my childhood was good. I never had to worry about food on the table or a roof over our head. My mom didn't seem like she had money issues. Looking back, I know that was the case. She did have some issues, but she made the best she could with it. And that's something we never had to worry about. But I dealt with a lot of confidence issues and direction issues because I didn't have that presence and that disciplining figure in the household. So although it wasn't bad, I just kind of wonder how much further down the road would I be had I had that male influence at home. But I'm actually glad that I didn't, frankly, because if I had a different experience, I'd be a different person. And I look at the uncomfortable and painful experiences, having stepfathers come into my life and whatnot, as something that now my kids, I've got 4 kids, they don't have to deal with that stuff because I did, right? Now they don't have to, and that's a good thing.
We were talking to somebody earlier, man, and you look at it like that's a good, especially with our kids. As you see your kid in a situation and you kind of cringe, you're like, oh man, I wouldn't want to, I hope he doesn't have to go through that. Be like, wait a minute, I did. And then I remember making it, and it's, life is pain. And sometimes when you get issued that dad that's hard on you, I mean, I think it's made place. So you're not supposed to like that dude. Your father, you ain't supposed to like him. He ain't your buddy.
He's supposed to be buddies with him.
Yeah, your mom, that's you let and your friends. And like your dad is like one of those men in your life that treat you a certain way. So because you're probably going to run into that person again. So if you learn how to deal with each one of them in their kind of phase, then it teaches you more about yourself. And everybody you run into creates the man you're becoming. I mean, you're a blade and everyone around you is a stone. So they're going to sharpen you, dull you, or polish you out. And so those of us that have those lives that, man, it's not that the life is tough, it's just the people around us are. And those are sharpening those diamond stones, through pressure over time. And then you turn around, you pass that back, hopefully with the knowledge where you can put the kids through it. That's a tough one, man. I mean, what part do you want to pull away from that? The part that we learned how to learn through? I mean, that's tough, right? I mean, that's life.
Yeah, that is tough because, I mean, in a way, we all screw our kids up, right? It's just a matter of how we do it. Like my kids are going to be screwed up in a way that I wasn't, and I'm screwed up in a way that maybe they won't be just because of the experiences. But yeah, I mean, you want to introduce them to some hardship. And I really like that you talk about not being a buddy, right? A lot of guys are like, oh, I want to be buddies with my kids. Like, why would you step down from the mantle of father to be a buddy?
Just earn that.
Right? Like, elements of friendship can be included in fatherhood, but you're not buddies. You're not there to, chum up with them or make them feel good about life all the time. Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely a balancing act to figure out, what is it that is going to serve them? Like what hardship is going to serve them? And then also like, how do you equip them to be able to deal with the challenges of life, the things that are going to mold and shape you, right? Because there's a lot of people that experience hardship and it doesn't shape them, it breaks them. Right, like we all know people who are broken by those experiences. It's like hard to figure out like how hard do you push with kids to make sure they bend and get stronger, but don't break. Right, that's the key. I think
that goes into there's got to be somebody on the backside to rebound them when society beats the shit out of them, sends them back home. Mommy and daddy got to be there.
This episode of the podcast brought to you by Chili Sleep. I am counting down the days so that I don't have to sleep in that RV mattress anymore. I can pull out my Chili Sleep chili pad and I can get just the best sleep of my life. I was talking to Morgan and Marcus about this, and Morgan has actually had a chili pad for quite some time. He said it's just a game changer, mainly because you don't have to worry about sleeping so dang hot. What it basically allows you to do is control the temperature of each side of the bed, and you can cool yourself off, you can warm yourself up, whatever you need to do. It is incredible. Chili Sleep are the pioneers of the original temperature-regulating mattress pad. And they were actually scientifically engineered to mimic the natural temperature change your body demands to fall into deep sleep. If you're like me right now, tossing and turning at night, it's probably because your brain and body are needing to reset, reconnect with their natural rhythm. But the best way to do that is by prioritizing your sleep climate. There's not quite a way to do that without something like Chili Pad. And honestly, that's really hard without just cranking down the AC and then all of a sudden it's too cold and then it's too hot. That's just crazy. Temperature-controlled sleep is vital for restoring testosterone levels, repairing muscle after a hard day's work, and it even helps improve cognitive function so you can always start your days feeling sharp, alert. So whether you're a cold or hot sleeper, no matter what size your bed, Chili Sleep is going to have a perfect solution for you. You're going to fall asleep faster, wake up without that grogginess that comes with sleeping on a regular mattress, especially an RV mattress. And then for an extra layer of comfort, they also make the Chili Blanket the only weighted blanket that can also be paired with their sleep system for the ultimate sweat-free sleep. Adversity doesn't care how you slept the night before, but Chili Sleep does. They've worked with frontline military heroes, first responders for years, and they are passionate about giving the gift of sleep to those that gave so much for our country, which is just awesome. Learn more about their dedicated military, healthcare, and first responders program at chilisleep.com/heroes. Right now, you guys should head over to chilisleep.com/TNQ for Chili Sleep's amazing deal. It's only available for you guys only for a limited time. It's Chili, CHILI, sleep.com/TNQ. You're going to get a special offer, and you're going to sleep hella good. Check them out, guys.
Pick them right back up.
Yeah, getting beat down in both spots is probably tough.
Get them right back up on the horse.
Like the ones that don't grow up with their parents and then get thrown into a school where they're getting beat down. No, you'd think, man, if you come from a rough home, when you go to school, you don't want it rough there. You just got to sit down and go through the numbers. And with Mojo and I've had the same friends since we were kids. And the reason you can't be a friend to your child is, man, we do dumb things with our friends, like on purpose.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
True.
So our kids are the next version of us. Just all the doors are shut. So you're literally following yourself through life, the next version, seeing which way you're going to go. And man, you just kind of like, all right, how? And when we say we mess up our kids, it's like, yeah, well, it's the next version of us. So we're kind of, you ain't no telling what's in there because you molded with something else. Like I see something in my kid, I'm like, it's obviously your mother. I don't recognize that. You know what I mean?
Where'd you get that from?
Where the hell did that come from?
Yeah. All right. So hey, brother. So your podcast is Order of Man. For our listeners out there that don't know your story and what that's all about, can you dig in a little bit and share some?
Yeah, I started it in 2015. Again, I'll go back. Frankly, it was selfish. Like I just wanted to talk with great men. I wanted to get some insight from them on, how to be a better father or husband, leader in my community, owner of my business. I had a financial planning practice at the time, and I actually did another podcast called Wealth Anatomy, and it was all dedicated towards helping doctors with their finances. And I realized, man, I love the medium of podcasting because we can just have conversations like this, long form conversations, get into the details, really figure some things out. But I realized, man, I didn't want to have that conversation about money anymore. So yeah, I pivoted and shifted gears based on some things I had learned. I went through a pretty rough time with a separation with my wife, and really struggled with that. Blamed her for a lot of years as it being her fault and everything else. And fortunately, we reconciled, and I learned a lot of this stuff that I needed to learn to improve myself. She had things to work on as well, but so did I. I just wasn't willing to look at those things. And it's pretty fascinating when I shifted and I stopped pointing it on her and blaming her and everything else. And I didn't have a dad and the economy this and my boss is an asshole, and started just saying, hey, what can I do? Like, what is it that I can do to fix myself? Yeah, they might have things that need to be worked on, but what can I focus on? And those lessons I started sharing with some buddies in the neighborhood and at church and things like that. And they really resonated, and they kind of shared some things with me. And I thought, man, there's probably more guys dealing with some of these issues than let on. Like they don't talk about it, right? Like we're supposed to put on the face and the persona, like everything's good, everything's figured out. And then if something's wrong, you can't express it. You can't work towards finding a solution. So that's why I started Order of Man in 2015. And I'll tell you, man, from the minute that we launched that podcast, it blew up. It absolutely blew up, which is a testament to how much this is needed and the good I feel like we're doing in society. So it's been a powerful ride over the past 5 years. So here, we're just rocking and rolling now.
Besides me and brother, who are your most memorable podcast men on? I mean, we haven't been on, but we're talking right now.
Of course. Yeah. That just goes without saying. Man, I've had so many good,
because we've shared a few that some of the guys that have been on your podcast have been on our podcast too. And there's some that are standouts.
Oh, no doubt. And I actually want to extend the invite for you guys to come on the show as well. So we'll talk more about that.
Oh yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah. But, man, Jocko's been on several times. Goggins is another great one.
So I was just texting him.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. I told him we were talking.
Yeah, I know you guys are friends. I actually got to sit down with him face to face in Las Vegas, and you know him, of course, better than most people. But man, just his presence was powerful. It was awesome to be able to have that conversation with him. Then other guys like John Eldridge. Do you guys know who John Eldridge is?
What's he do?
He's he's the author of a book called Wild at Heart, which is it's more Christian based. It's such an incredible perspective and look into masculinity, and that book actually got me on the right track to figure some things out about myself.
Wild
so I was
at
fortunate
Heart.
to have him on. Wild at Heart, yeah, he's an absolutely incredible author, and he's got a lot of good things to share. Man, I could go on. Tim Kennedy. I mean, Andy Frisilla. Shoot, we've had so many incredible guys on.
I tell you what, man, it's brilliant the way you did it when you were talking about you had the podcast about money, about making money. And then you kind of get tired of doing that, and you shifted it to man, all right, Tell me about the guy who makes the money. Because I talk to a lot of guys, man, they're like, hey, there's no job description for snipers out in the civilian world. I'm like, no, not that job description, that job title, there's not. But everything that goes into making a sniper, there is. I mean, discipline, pace, all that stuff. And shifting that back around to like what you were saying, I mean, trying to figure out the order of man, how you got to where you were at. And not only that, you're remembering it because that's what you were going after. And when we get to this point now, we turn around, we go back and give it everything that we learned back to the youth. That's how you do that. When they say toxic masculinity, that's the guys who hadn't been taught anything. They don't have any discipline.
Right.
And when it comes to the wife, you blame it. That's easy to do. It's like joining the military, but yelling at the officers and the sergeants for telling you to do something. Like when we get married, that's over. Like, hey, and you nailed it. It's like, man, I was trying to change her. You can't change a woman. We switch. That's the beautiful thing about being what we are. Like we adapt. I'll turn into anything you want. I spent my whole life training for this. So kind of the way we look at it, like, man, I had to go through everything I had to go through just to get the qualifications to marry that.
Well, and it's funny because here's the trap. When you start thinking about changing other people, whether it's the officer or your wife or your boss or whoever, right, is they actually might have things they need to work on. And so that's what you focus on. But there's nothing you can change about that. Even if they do, and they probably do have just as much, if not more, to work on than you. But if you focus on it, it's futile. Like there's not, like you said, there's nothing you can do about another person. But what's cool about it is that when you change, like when you decide to change the way you show up or present yourself or learn some new skill set or capability and you build influence and credibility, is people voluntarily change because they see you changing, right? So they change the way they respond to you because you're a different person. And we all influence people positively or negatively. Like every conversation, this conversation, you guys are influencing me. I'm influencing you. People who are listening are being influenced for the better or worse. You can't escape it. So you might as well make it a positive influence by focusing on yourself.
Man, it definitely doesn't happen when we talk about, especially with another human being and changing. It's not as easy as changing your clothes. Like, like the color, somebody to change a shirt. Like, man, you got to grow into that. Like you get that one thing, you get too early. Well, man, it may look funny, it doesn't fit right and kind of whatever. But as you grow into it, in and out of it, actually, it's not a change, it's growing together. And we both change together. If one changes, then the other one's just going to be left out, right? In some capacity, because you had to have fallen in love with him for a reason.
Ryan, were you going through your separation when you were doing the podcast?
No, my wife and I went through separation in, let me think about the dates here. It must have been 2010 or so. Yeah, 2010, 2009, somewhere right in there is when we went through our separation.
How do you feel like having the show has impacted your relationships, friends and your wife?
Oh man, it's been, look, here's the thing is when you have millions of people who listen to your podcast, it adds a whole new dynamic and dimension of accountability, right? Like,
yeah, right?
Yeah.
That's what you don't think about either. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, and we're never at a shortage for people telling us, the good we're doing and the bad we're doing and everything else, right?
You got to be getting beat up.
Everybody wants to talk and yeah, it gets rough sometimes. So, but that's good. It's good for me but that pressure to perform and pressure to show up in the right way leads me to do the right things, whether it's getting up and working out, not hitting the snooze, or taking my wife on a date, or being more engaged with my kids, or just being disciplined to do the podcast or send out some emails when I don't want to. All of that has produced some phenomenal results in my life that, frankly, I may have shirked a little bit more had I not had so many eyes watching what I'm doing. And I realize how powerful what we're doing is as well. Like we're truly making an impact. I had a guy come up. I was at Hunt Expo a couple of weeks ago, and it was actually really cool because my two oldest boys came with me, and a guy, he literally ran. He was working a booth, and he literally ran from his booth across the hall that we were in, and I saw him running over, and he stopped me, and he had tears in his eyes. And he was saying the last couple of years have been a real struggle, and we didn't get into detail on what it was, but you could tell that the work that we were doing, are doing, is having a huge impact on his life. And it was really cool because my two oldest boys got to see that and they were touched by that. But yeah, when you see things like that, it makes you realize like how important what you're doing really is. So you better show up and pay it the respect it deserves.
Oh, it's the same thing. Keeps us in the military and keeps us going to do that kind of stuff. Right.
Absolutely.
That's crazy you should say it like that, because when we start doing this, you get, because of the way we work, we're like, hey, we need to get there and get this done, and then it grows so fast. It's just like it kind of swarms. It's like a wave that you can't see coming in.
This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Audible. You guys have probably heard about Audible at some point in your life, but for me, the reason why Audible is so cool is because I saw a statistic once that said 85% of self-made millionaires read 2 or more books per month. Now, that's something I've always wanted to do, but well, I've wanted to be a millionaire, of course, but I've always wanted to read a lot of books, but the problem has been time. I don't have a lot of time. I don't have a lot of time to sit down. I'm in the car a lot. I'm working a lot. I have a lot of meetings. That's actually something Nick Shaw mentioned a few weeks ago whenever he was on our podcast, was that he wishes that he would have read more books when he was just getting started with his business. And so it's something to me that's been really important. It's really been on top of my mind, is to just learn more, read more. And so I finally decided to give Audible a try. So I just finished listening to Atomic Habits, which was my first ever Audible audiobook to listen to. And the audiobook was incredible, by the way. Kind of the main guts of that book was that changes that seem small and unimportant at first really are going to compound into remarkable results if you're willing to just stick with them for years. And so that book was really helpful for me as a business owner, as a leader. And so I highly definitely recommend you guys check that one out. Kara, who's the social media manager here at TNQ, she just finished listening to Goggins' new title, Can't Hurt Me, which was apparently one of the coolest audiobooks possible, because they would basically read each chapter or narrate each chapter, and then Goggins would talk about it in kind of a podcast style, and then Goggins actually leaves you with a challenge after each chapter. So that's a cool way to get way more out of a book than just sitting down and reading it. I mean, you're getting a challenge from the author. That's incredible. Y'all know David Goggins has a lot of cool things to say. Audible has thousands of titles to choose from, so whatever it is that you're in the mood for, I'm sure you're going to find something that you're looking for. But fun fact, if you listen to every title on Audible, you'd be listening for more than 3 centuries. That's wild. As an Audible member, you're going to get 1 credit every month that's going to be good for any title in their entire premium selection. And that means the latest bestsellers, buzziest new releases, hottest celebrity memoirs on your bucket list, maybe Lone Survivor, maybe Service, maybe Goggins books, whatever it is. Those titles are yours to keep forever in your Audible library. You're also going to get access to their Audible Plus catalog, which is brand new, which provides unlimited listening to select audiobooks, Audible originals, podcasts, and more, which means Audibles is much more than just audiobooks. You can even squeeze in a workout or guided meditation without having to go to the gym or class, because they've got all that great content right there in the library. And members don't have to worry about using their credits right away. This is one of my favorite features. You can actually keep your credits for up to a year and use them to binge on a whole series if you'd like. So those stack up. You can use them to pick up all the best titles you're looking for. And new members are going to get a free 30-day trial. So if you've been thinking about doing it, go do it. All you guys need to do is visit audible.com/TNQ, or you can text TNQ to 500. One more time, guys, that's audible.com/TNQ, or text TNQ to 500-500. Go check out one of those audiobooks. Go check out one of those workouts. Just get in there. It's cool. It's a great thing to learn something new. If you've been thinking about picking up Goggins' book, Marcus's book, they're all available on Audible. Check them out.
And you hear, though, there's a couple of stories that you hear that just kind of solidify it, like why you keep doing it, no matter how tired you get or no matter how beat down you get. And I got a letter a while back. This guy, he's a quadriplegic, had fallen down the stairs. He's laying at the bottom down there. I mean, for days. He's like, I knew I'd be all right. He's like, oh my God. I was like, I'll never forget that. I never forgot that, dude. Anytime anybody asks me a story or something like that, even though I don't say that story out loud a lot of times, I'll try and reference like something that everyone knows. Like, hey, what's your best guest? And it's kind of somebody like everybody knows, so you can talk about it, right? And everybody can relate to it. And then there's those ones that, man, you just like, you ain't gonna believe this dude I ran into. I didn't think somebody like him existed. I mean, Mojo and I get to do that all the time. I mean,
have you run into or had the opportunity to somebody come up to you and say, I've been watching you and you are absolutely acting exactly how you present yourself on your podcast? Because Order of Man, you obviously have to portray the man.
Top of the order. I mean, you just gotta put yourself top of the order there, homie.
That's the thing. Like, I put myself out there on blast, you know,
Right.
and I have, I've had people say that. I try to be somebody who tells the truth and shares, the things that I'm not doing so well at, just as much as I'd like to share the things I'm good at. And I think that level of just realness, right? Just showing exactly who I am helps make that connection when people meet me. I don't feel like I put myself on some pedestal I don't belong. I don't really think I belong like at the top, right? Like I'm on the journey just as much as anybody else, and I'm facilitating that conversation. Yeah, but I've had both. I've had people say, hey, who you are lines up exactly with what you talk about. Really appreciate that. And frankly, I've had other people say, hey, you're full of shit. Like what you're doing, you don't live your life according to that stuff. And to that I say, you know what, you're right. Yeah, I fall short sometimes. I screw up and I mess up. I try to recognize it and try to fix it as often as I can.
That's great.
Who do you find that's more confrontational to you, men or women?
Men.
Really?
Yeah, women love what we do because they want real men.
There you go.
I was about to say, man, never forget like all the stuff that we've had to go through coming up the way we did. Guys talk back, and that's what they do. That's how we test each other.
For sure.
I mean, some of them guys, when they do that, that's a bark. I mean, that's how they're coming in. That's why a lot of times, man, I'm like, hey, bro, really, man, I understand you're upset, but that's not really bothering me. If you want to talk about it, it's like, that's how you do it. You break it down, especially the older we get. When we were young, all you had to do is look funny. And if you wanted to, we would do that too. And the older we get, the more training we get. It's like, hey, now you got to see how far you can push us before we drop into that. And it is.
I think that's good with buddies, right? Is like, you got to push on them because you want to know who's going to be a bitch and who isn't. Right. And you got to know that before you get into the real situation. Like you guys know more about that than I do. I mean, the life or death stakes that you were playing at were significantly more than I did.
Yeah, right? It's tough to get in situations like that.
Don't sell yourself short. You shouldn't.
The military makes that happen. That's what the military does. Right. They put us into situations that normally you're supposed to get in with your friends. And we did. We were lucky. Right. I mean, all them guys that we still run around with, they've been tested. We're like, if you get in an argument with them, like, okay, well then get over it. Where are you gonna go? We've been together our whole lives. I mean, we don't even get in arguments, and we do test each other. Man, we tackle each other. I mean, just like a bunch of kids, and that's what that's for. If you're one of them squared away brain scientists, just always having to go in that path, you better be able to go out in the middle of the woods and just get crazy and vent somehow because it's gonna come out. I mean, you can't carry that kind of pressure. That's something that comes with age, is how to steady that out. If you're stacking that weight on at a young age, man, that's why we still vent. So if somebody sees you like, hey, I don't think you should be doing that. I was like, well, obviously you skipped one of the orders in the man. Because
I got something I want you to elaborate on, buddy. And I know exactly where you're coming from because I've never experienced it, but I see it. It says society kind of we're losing the meaning of manhood, and we can have that conversation. Like, I mean, I want to hear your perspective on it because. Does it really resonate off of a media platform in society as bad as they portray it, you think?
Are you saying is the state of affairs as bad as it's made out to be asking?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I mean, in my experience, and it might just be because of the work I'm in, but I think most men are men, right? They want to show up. They want to be present for their family. They want to protect themselves and the people they care about. They want to make a living and be able to provide for their families. They want to lead effectively at home and at work. Like this is what men want. Even if they're not living up to that ideal right now, they're on the path. Like most men are on that path. But it's funny because the men who are doing it right or on the right path, they aren't yapping about it. Right. They're doing their thing. Right. They're coaching their kids' baseball team. They're going to little Sally's ballet recital. They're taking their wife on a date. They're quietly doing their work and getting the job done. And they're not yapping about it. It's these people that aren't doing anything, that don't feel good about themselves, that want to be acknowledged and recognized and the attention for nothing, that are the loudest. And although it's a minority, I think it's still important to address because if you don't counter those misguided conversations, although they are a minority of conversations, it becomes a trend, right? And that's what I want to reverse. Like, I don't want this to be commonplace. I want it to be as isolated as it is now, and I want it to continue to be isolated and stamped out altogether if we can.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's exactly right. Our generation is completely different. We're 20 years of war. And you couldn't be as extreme as we were and do what we did unless our entire generation was that extreme. And you see it with the X Games and our kids. Our kids are the ones that play baseball year round. I mean, every sport is kind of, and right now, and it's a respect thing too, because you kind of raised by your grandparents, which ours was the greatest generation, right? So we got a little bit of old, a little bit of the new. Then you throw us in a 20-year war. They threw us in there just to melt together. And you're right. And then when we were away, the people that are sitting around. If you got enough time to all you do is complain, then you ain't doing nothing else.
That's exactly
and
right.
it's the same people up there the whole time, always complaining. And it's like, okay, our generation sees that, but we just keep quiet because it's not we're not in charge yet. You know, we're still mid-level, but that'll change. And I mean, you can see it when we're out in public, man. When you walk around, you can identify one of us quick.
No doubt. No doubt. And I think too, is like, for the most part, the guys who are doing it right, just do it right and let other people live how they want to live. You know, I'm going to control what I can control. I'm going to operate and help like my immediate circle, my family and everything else. And outside of that, just leave people alone and you leave me the hell alone. And I get it. But I think there's some issues we're talking about and having a discussion about. This is one of them.
Yeah. Speaking of that small percentage, you know, a lot of times those people become like who the men that are working on the right path, the quiet guys, they focus on those yappers because they feel like, oh, I'm not hitting that mark. What do you have to say to the men that are on the right path that are being kind of guided or influenced by like that misinformation?
Listen to our podcast instead. No, I mean, here's what I would say is be very intentional about the information you're gathering, whether it comes down to, you know, being a better man or writing a book or advancing within your career or leading people or whatever your thing is, right? Like qualify the information. And if those people who you're getting information aren't currently doing it and don't have a track record of success, then you probably ought to think twice about following that individual. I would also say is if you are on the path, you have a moral obligation and responsibility. And we talked about this a little earlier. We hit on this a second ago, to share it, like turn around and help your kids, like help your son, not just your son, but help the kids in the community, coach, be a mentor, big brothers, big sisters, like whatever you can do to turn it around to these younger generations who don't have fathers around and will continue to see this rising trend of misguided notions of what it means to be a man.
Well, I mean, when the pros get done being pros, they're the ones that are supposed to be doing the coaching and get back in and teaching the kid. I mean, how great would it be to have a professional athlete be your coach? And when you're talking about the guys who are that are on the path and the ones that are yapping, man, it's being guided by it and listening to it are two different things. And most everything, remember this, if someone's sending something out and it's bad, like negative, like they're trying to insult, so that's usually an opinion. And you'll know if it's absolute because you'll feel it you'll feel it in your bones. Like, okay, that's, you know, and with the technology, you can look it up. But most everything you read and everything you hear is going to be an opinion from somebody. And if they're under 40, that's exactly what it is. You ain't been around long enough to know anything other than opinion.
Right.
I mean, so don't get worked up about
everything.
it. Yeah, just ask. Say, hey, man, I understand. You know, I can hear you yell, but what got you that way?
Right. I mean, just question everything. Like even people that listen to our podcast and are tapped into what we're doing, I would suggest that you question it. And I've had guys say, what makes you the expert? I'm just sharing an opinion. I'm on the path. I'm sharing an opinion. I'm sharing the things that work for me. And if you think it'll work for you, try it. If you don't try it. I don't care. I'm just going to share what I think works and what's proven to be successful for me. So hopefully it works for you too.
And when they call it, it's funny because you tell them to ask questions, but then they call you, who makes you the expert? And be like, well, no. If I was the expert, you wouldn't have to ask questions. I mean, that's right. That's just kind of how that is, right? I mean, send it back like that.
What is some advice you can give to our listeners? Just some never quit advice.
Some never quit advice.
Yeah.
I would say number one is think about why you're doing it. You know, I talked about John Eldridge earlier, and he has one of my favorite quotes. He says, deep in his heart, every man longs for a battle to fight, an adventure to live, and a beauty to rescue. And if you look at
boom,
I mean, that's a pretty good
awesome
life, right? It's a pretty good life.
That's a good one.
If that's your life, that's a pretty good life as a man, for sure. And what I found is those people who quit and give up and break when other people drive on, it's because they don't have a battle. They haven't identified the battle, right? And it's not fighting. So they don't fight. They give up. But if you've identified as something that, hey, this is the hill I'm going to die on, like this is the battle I'm engaged in, and I'm not going to quit because I see how important this is not only to me, but other people, and it impacts you deeply, and you've identified what that battle is, man, I think it'd be hard for you to quit. I think it would be almost impossible for you to throw in the towel if you can continue to remember why that battle is so important to you.
Well, that's why you do it with friends. I mean, a lot of people are like, hey, I got to go get into a battle. I got to go into something hard. do something hard. Well, if you're by yourself, you got to take the full brunt of it. But no, if there's people standing around you, some of them got skills that can offset that. And even if you're just standing there in the worst battle, and you can see it on, even when we watch TV and everything, you're watching those guys back in the past going through that stuff. When people come up to Mojo and I and they say, well, when we Navy SEALs, I ask them, it's like, okay, if you heard my story or stories like us and you thought, man, that's terrible, I'm glad I wasn't there, then you don't need to be there. If you hear our stories, you'd be like, man, I wish I was there. Just try to, then that's where you're supposed to go. And those adventures, man, I would say when the big boat goes down, make sure you're singing in the life raft. Because we'll be in there anyways. It's just a smaller boat. And we take those to get in anyhow. I mean, you could always, you come in with nothing. So if you gain a bunch of stuff and something goes away, well, did you really lose it? No, man, you just kind of hold on to it for a little while and enjoy it. And if you was using it nonstop, it'd still be there. That mind's eye. Like all the stuff that pops in your head and whatnot, that's people around you, kind of their realities. And then, but that mind's eye, like what's always there when you close when you wake up, what you're thinking about, man, that's your direction.
Yeah.
Team Never Quit podcast sponsored by Navy Federal Credit Union. They have made it their mission to help their military members for over 85 years. And during Military Appreciation Month, they're celebrating the commitment that connects them to their military members. What makes Navy Federal such a great company is that many of their employees are actually military family members, reservists, and even veterans themselves, which means the guys that are helping you have been in your shoes. They know who you are. They know what you're going through, and they're there to support you. They offer resources that are incredible, like Best Cities After Service and Best Careers After Service, which help veterans transition to civilian life. And Navy Federal offers 24/7 customer service and support, so they're going to be there for you whenever you need them. I'm going to wrap this up by asking you guys to do a huge favor for us. Navy Federal wants you guys to give a shout out to someone you know who's an active duty service member or a veteran during this Military Appreciation Month. All you guys to do is post it on social media with hashtag Mission Military Thanks. And you can visit NavyFederal.org/celebrate to check out member exclusive offers during Military Appreciation Month, or share that shout out using hashtag Mission Military Thanks. Navy Federal Credit Union, insured by NCUA.
I like what you're saying, because you're talking about a weeding out process too, right? And it's like we have so many people in our lives, and probably, frankly, all of us have people maybe we shouldn't have in our lives, but we have no process for weeding them out, right? So a lot of questions I get is like, what do you do if you're dealing with this guy who's an asshole and you've kind of outgrown or whatever, right? It's questions like this. It's like you need to have like some sort of qualifier for people who are invited into your circle. Oh, but I've known this guy for 30 years. I can appreciate the loyalty, but like he's not interested in being helped. He's not interested in being on the same path. So that's his decision. It's no longer your decision. But most of these guys don't have a weeding out process, and they keep the wrong people around them, people that aren't serving them, people that aren't, like you talked about, going to help them, going to push them, going to motivate them, and stand shoulder to shoulder when shit hits the fan.
I mean, like you just sit there and let some dude be an asshole to you for 30. Is his brother, or are they married? Or, I mean, what? They live in the same house?
Oh, no.
I was talking about like, hey, man, like, literally, like, hey, man, when you talk to me, it makes me feel uncomfortable or just whatever. I mean, people break up with their girlfriends and boyfriends all the time, but you sit there and let somebody, that you don't want to hurt their feelings, but you just rather sit there and let your feelings get hurt. Okay. I mean, I guess you can learn from that too, but just, it's your life.
Yeah, there's a lot of these guys that have what we'd call like the nice guy syndrome, right? So they don't, there's being a nice person, and then there's this nice guy syndrome, which is allowing yourself to get railroaded and picked on and abused because you don't want to, run into any confrontation or hurt anybody's feelings. And it's a very, very miserable way to live.
It is, man.
These guys that live in this boat, they understand exactly what it's like. And they never get their way. They never get the date. They never get the promotion. And they just end up bitter and resentful because they were too scared to step up into their lives.
Yeah, because it gets to a point, I would imagine a lot of people don't want to, it's not that you don't want to hang out with them. They don't want to hang out with you.
Right.
You don't
Why
do
would you want to hang out with somebody like that?
Yeah, they just keep getting stepped on and everything. Well, you've been stepped on enough. Eventually, trust me, you're tough. And if that area, if your life hasn't changed in that area, get on a bus and move to the next town. Trust me, you'll be a celebrity. You'll be brand new. If they don't know you there,
right? But don't fall into the same patterns, though, right? Like if you move to a new place, a lot of people just fall into their same patterns. It's like make yourself someone new, like redefine yourself and do something new.
Take all that stuff that you learn, because that does, like you said, doesn't identify. It's what you're qualified to do. And then talking earlier, man, shed that skin and go somewhere else and take that qualification and apply it to something else. You're always going to start at the bottom. It's always going to be hard, but it's supposed to be. That's how you know you're in the right spot.
Do you have like a top 10 commandments thing that you got hanging in your office from everybody that's been on your show? It's like, I haven't heard that one, but it's great. I'm going to add it to the list that you can share.
That's a good idea, but no, I actually don't have something like that. I've got like over here, I don't know if you can see it, just up in this corner here, right next to my remaining pink wallpaper. You can see that.
Nice. We are not judging.
Nice.
We're not judging.
Super manly.
Me and my boys wrote a code of conduct at one of our events, so we've got things like that. But that actually would be good. I've thought about taking, because one of the questions we ask all of our guests is, what does it mean to be a man at the end of the podcast? And I've thought about taking, I think it's 270 interviews now, and having each one of those written out and documented, and then just put it into a book.
Yeah.
But
coffee
like
table book.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Something like that would be really cool. So,
that'd be
maybe you push me over the edge here.
Yeah, no, it'd be great to have. I mean, right, have it in the man cave or on the coffee table, open it up, and then their quote with their name behind it.
Dude, break them down, wear each one of them on a shirt, and then after you get done wearing them out, make it into a blanket.
There you go.
What's up?
There you go. Or you could do like the daily Stoic thing, what's like one mantra per day or whatever for 365 days, something like that could be kind of cool.
Toilet paper.
I was just gonna say, order of man toilet paper. Every time you pull the one off, there's a phrase on it right there.
That's what I gotta do.
That's actually. I mean, I don't know how I feel about a guy wiping his ass with a quote necessarily, but I do like the idea that he's always going to see it.
But
right?
it has to happen, and if you look at it as not a bad thing, just a thing.
Bro, I just got back from my physical therapy at the place I was staying in. By the toilet, it had some toilet paper still in the paper wrapper, said excellence. And I was like, dude, I said to my bro, I was like, bro, I'm down here getting shit kicked out of me every morning, but I still wipe my ass with excellence. Let's do it. You know what I mean? I mean, that's funny. I mean, you make it funny like that. We have one of our sponsors, man. The bar of soap is huge. I mean, it's so big, it barely fits in your hand. And you're kind of like, whatever. But actually, the way I started looking, I was like, man, if some old dude comes creeping into my bathroom and he looks over there, he's like, Jesus, what bathes with that thing? I mean, right? It's all that whole man, the order of man thing. It's fun having it. That's why we do that. Does it make any sense? No, but that's what we do.
Maybe it's just bigger so you can hold on to it. They want to ensure you're not dropping the soap.
So, you can go either way with that.
Yeah. Ryan, so obviously we want to plug your podcast, the Order of Man podcast, but would you like to talk about your kind of like inner circle or your book that you've got?
Yeah. I mean, sure. We've got, the book is called Sovereignty, The Battle for the Hearts and Minds of Men. I wrote that, I think it was almost 2 years ago now. So that's done pretty well. And then we've got you, Andrew, you're talking about the inner circle. It's
Iron Council.
Called Iron Council.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I like that.
Yeah, man, that's
nice.
Good.
Good handle.
I started that. It was funny because I was doing the Order of Man podcast and stuff at the same time I was doing the financial planning, and I was about 6 months into it, and I started to dedicate way more time to the Order of Man stuff. My wife came to me one night and she's like, "Hey, you're doing really good with this Order of Man thing, but like you're taking away from the household income because you're not doing your work as much as you're doing this. You're not making money doing this." And so she's like, "You should find a way to make money or maybe not do it so much." I'm like, "Well, I'm not scaling back. I'm doubling down on this thing." And so, that was in October or November of 2015 as we launched the Iron Council. We had 12 guys sign up initially, and now here we are 500 and I think 50 members later now at this point.
Wait a second. This just popped into my head. So Order of Man Council, what order? Where are my brother and I in that damn order? How long you been doing this?
Yeah.
I mean, damn, you got some studs in there.
It's been a good ride.
Trail Boys commented 1,200,000. That's awesome. That's great. Hey, man, it's kind of funny because when we step into this, you don't realize it. Like in the beginning, it's just something that we thought, hey, man, that'd be fun. Because I kind of looked at it when people ask me, like, why do you keep doing it? I was like, man, I'm kind of selfish because I like hanging out with the guys that hear the conversations. Like with us, we throw our uniforms on. That kind of identifies our color. But when we always got shoved together. And the stories, I mean, it's just like one guy from each walk of life. We all got thrown into one skin, dude. And now we get to share that stuff. I mean, tech's great in this capacity because otherwise, man, we'd have had to run into you by happenstance, maybe in a bar or funeral, like we normally do, bar, funeral, or wedding, maybe. But
right.
And the pass down is quick. That's the beautiful part about it. I mean, we learn more from listening than we do talking. And just this feedback is great.
It's you know, it's telling stories and having conversations is as old as man himself, right? And only recently we moved away from it because of technology. Fortunately, we can use technology to bring that back and really get to our roots of just having sit downs like we are right now. And I think these conversations are powerful for people.
Do you have an Order of Man, like man card? Do you have retail?
No, I do. Yeah. Yeah. We've got like shirts, hats, etc.
Do you have a man card?
Yeah, no, but that would be cool. Like having different skill sets and different things like on there.
Oh, well, when somebody's like, hey, look, pull out your man card, you could have an order. I have my fucking man card.
That's right.
Bro, I was in my son's truck the other day and I opened up his console and it had one of those in there. It said man card.
Is that right?
Yeah. and it was made of steel. And I was like, yeah. So I got order of progression.
We're great. We're great marketing people for you, buddy. I mean,
I know.
We're
just coming out to talk to you about how to turn this thing on, man.
And so, hey, let me ask you that. Was there, when you kicked this thing off, because it's very popular now, obviously, was there a struggle? I mean, there had to be some complexities and nuances, and did it ever dip down and you were nervous, or did it just yeah, sure that was.
That's every day I'm like, oh, this like something goes wrong, you know, like, or there's like a trend, you know, maybe like the podcast, for example, plateaus for a little while. I'm like, oh, what the hell? Like maybe I should quit. Maybe I should throw in the towel. And then, you know, it all fixes itself and works itself out. I've had little things, like I almost got sued a couple of times for making clothing that looked very similar to another company.
Well, I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there. That's like that's a part of it, I think.
Oh, it's tuition. You like, if you aren't willing to pay that tuition, you don't get to graduate. Mm-hmm. Like you've got to be willing to pay to play in a way. So, and those were some expensive.
Some of them don't even make sense. Like what? That's not even what ours says. And we're like, no, it doesn't matter.
Oh, I know.
And it's like, and the crazy part is like normally guys like us handle it with guys like us. And then when you get some people who they won't handle it, they square it, they go get a lawyer. Well, that's just getting another dude to come in and do your fight. I mean, you're still trying to take something.
That's a good point. I had one company reach out, and we made a shirt that looked, you know, in hindsight, like pretty much identical to theirs. I'll be truthful about that. And the owner reached out. The owner of the company sent me a message directly, and him and I hashed it out. No lawyers, no letters, no threats or anything else. And I said, you know what? Yeah, you're right, man. Like I messed that one up. I took that whole run out of production, lost thousands of dollars on the deal. But, you know, like it was him and we worked it out, you know, and I wanted to be fair to him. He was reasonable and respectful, and I wanted to be reasonable and respectful. It was fine.
Hell, you should have been like, yeah, bro, actually, I made this shirt for you to sell. I just kind of put my logo on the bottom side of it. Man,
I'll send it to you. Here you go. You can have it.
I'll give it to you.
Just want to cut. It's $2 a shirt.
Because I noticed in the beginning when we came out and started doing that, when they separate us, because normally in the military, if something goes bad like it does in the civilian world, you don't think about it like, okay, I'm done. Like, should I quit? Because we can't do that. They're like, well, we're obviously going to fix it. We just call in there's guys who know how to do it. Or we just do it until we fix it. Right. And when you're out there by yourself, and it's just, you know, you're just, civilian is just another type of military. Is the kind of way you look at it. And as you're going through it, man, you run into all types.
Well, and that's the thing is like, to going back to what we said earlier, is like, plant your flag. You know, like, don't give yourself an out. Right? Like there's not one moment where I've seriously considered or begin planning for like exiting Order of Man or like it not working out. Like everything is always, this is going to work out. Here's a temporary snag. Here's a hiccup. Okay. Like, how do I fix it? Cause I'm not going to retreat from it. I'm not going to throw in the towel. So what do I need to do to fix it here? And you know, sometimes it's a quick, easy fix, and other times it takes a couple of months, but we work a plan and we work through it and everything's fine and we come out better on the other side. So yeah, I mean, you got to plant your flag towards something, you know, it might as well be something you're engaged in and something that you don't feel like you'll ever quit or throw in the towel. I've had people ask me that. What's your exit strategy for Order of Man? I'm like, I have no idea what the hell you're talking about.
Death.
You have exit strategy.
How does that happen? I guess when every man dies? Because I mean, that's kind of a brilliant way to look at it. Because how long does it take for us to actually get the military mindset? 4 years. So when you say, hey, can this go away? It's like, hey, man, 4 years. You plant that flag. Not only that, people have been following it. And if they've been adopting that, then, man, even if you go away, it's out there.
That's the beauty is like, even if I wanted to quit, I don't think I could. I don't think I could stop this train if I wanted to, which is actually a pretty good and powerful position to be in.
It's got legs. Yeah, for sure. That's it.
When that train gets up moving, you can slow that engine off, right? And just the force of it will keep it going.
Well, that's a trap too, though, sometimes. And I fall into this is like
wait.
at success. And it's like you're going full steam ahead and you just kind of coast, right? You don't continue to fuel the fire, fuel the engine. And so you coast and then you realize, oh, we're slowing down. And so you have to put that fuel back in to get it going again. And I have a tendency of doing that, resting a little bit sometimes on our previous successes without thinking about, okay, well, what's next? Right. Constantly thinking, what's next?
They did that to us too, man. I always looked at it when we were building this with the numbers it was the same way in the weight room. Like I couldn't get under 130 over 135 forever. And then you're under 225 forever. And you kind of like, it just sits there, goes up a little bit, comes back down. And then when you hit the plateaus, you kind of get bummed out. But in reality, man, it's to remind you of the climb you just went up. And then you get to look at the view and then get ready for the next climb. So the coast is like the flat ground, but man, we don't roll on a circle. Ours is a roller coaster. Some people like the tick on the way up. Some people like the crest. Some people like being in the valley and then coming back out of it. And if you kind of deny anybody their ride, they're not going to get back on it.
Right.
No, I mean, but you hit the nail on the head. You coast. That other son-of-a-bitch out there that's chasing you is going to burn right by you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Because there's more than one train on the track. That's right. So you shut your engines down and you're in the front. There's going to be a train coming up behind you, just going to smack you right off the track.
He's going to derail you. Yeah, if you're not careful about that. Yeah, and because look, and you know what it's like because for me, anyways, like I at one point was that train who was like overly ambitious and wanted to get everything done and wanted to get this podcast and this movement up and running. And so you remember what that feels like. Continue that. And the other thing too about these plateaus you're talking about is. And I'm learning this now as we continue to grow this business and this organization is like what got me to the point I'm at right now does not have the same legs to get me to the next level. Like it just doesn't. Like I don't have enough power based on what I've done in the past to get me to that next level. So I've had to learn new things, new skills. I've had to bring advisors in, talk with people that are in a lot of ways talking above my head. I'm like, I have no idea what you're saying right now and trying to interpret what it is they're saying and telling me to do and learn these new skills. That's the plateau. It's like you realize, oh, okay, this means I need to learn something different that I don't already know so I can get up to that next hill.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. So not having
the fact that you recognize that will make you even more successful than you already are. The ones that think they have enough forward momentum and do not widen their gaze fail.
True. Yeah.
Because you're busy staring at the top. And the way you're looking at from bottom to top. I was like, I got to get up there that straight line. That's not how that works. That's when you start doing them circles. Or hell, put some track back down low and get some speed. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
When we shift gears, every time we do a workup and deployment, we come back, we go back into workup and get our butts kicked from the beginning. And like you gain more, it kind of reminds you, and then you pick up some more people and more skill sets. So that hill, I mean, it's not way up there. By the time you get that speed going, man, you're up there. But sure. And that's just like, and normally that stress comes from the people around you. Because I mean, in reality, when you started this, what was your end goal? You didn't have one. So if there's no end goal, there's no top of the mountain. This is steady climb.
Right.
We'll steadily circling that thing till we get hit every piece of it.
Which is good. I mean, a lot of people talk about that, like, oh, you got to have goals. I have benchmark. I wouldn't say goals as much as like benchmarks. Here's what we want to accomplish. Here's the next thing. Okay, we did this event. Here's how we're going to make it better. But I don't have some final destination that I'm traveling to. It's always going to be up and up and up and up exponentially until I'm dead.
Yeah, because if you have a end game, then there's going to be an ending.
Yeah. It's like, hey, who was the greatest player? I was like, man, we're still playing. We talk about greatest player ever play. We're still playing.
Right.
Why did that?
Yeah, that's why they
ended.
talk about
that
these guys like the greatest of all time.
Wow.
They talk about these greatest of all time. It's like currently, yep, but there'll never be another person like him. Yes, there will. Somebody who will be better. Somebody else will come along and be better and stronger and faster and whatever else.
That's why those dates are so important. Those time benchmarks, like you said.
Michael Johnson, when he won when he won his, they were like, nobody will ever be as fast as him. Boom, Usain Bolt. Hello.
Lightning bolt.
Right.
That dude runs straight up and down. I mean, I couldn't even imagine dude comes past a lot. I just came back and was working with some of the athletes, man, and a lot of those guys, they run against time. I'm like, man, run against it, run with it. I mean, if you're trying to catch the guy who's in front of you, you're not going to do that. He was in front of you from the beginning. Yeah, and that's a lot of the, and that's set for a reason. So no one will break their records. I mean, that's the mental thing about being in the man card. It's like, hey, look, and being the elder, hey, I was supposed to talk smack and keep you from doing this, because the harder you put that pressure on them, that's how those diamonds are formed, through that hard pressure.
Right.
And then you come out on the other end, man, and you're like, hey, man, was that supposed to happen? They're like, no, like, sweet, new standard. You know what I mean? Just keep going.
Exactly.
Turn a bad time into a badass time. That's what me and Mojo have always done.
Love it. Awesome.
Ryan, thanks for being on the show today. Would you like to plug anything before we wrap this up?
Yeah, just visit the podcast. Like I said, the podcast continues to grow, and you'll hear some great guys. You guys are going to come on. Hopefully, it sounds like.
Hell yeah,
we'll have a great conversation. And like I said, we've been going strong for 5 years and had some incredible conversations. I know you're going to learn a lot from it. So check it out. Order of Man is the podcast.
We're doing the Order of Man business card.
I want my Order of Man card.
Yeah, man card.
Hey, look.
Even if you don't do it, we'll make it for you.
You guys are going to get number 1 and number 2. You guys can duke it out who gets 1 and 2. But you
I'm the oldest.
Yeah. We've already figured that out.
We established that a long time ago.
Long time ago.
Hey, buddy, it was great talking to you, man. It was awesome.
Hell yeah.
What is up, everybody? It is time for a listener story. Today's listener story is coming from Colby. Colby's story is titled, How Do I Get Out of This Hole? And this is a different story than normal, which I love because it gives us the opportunity to leverage the community to provide encouragement, guidance, suggestions. Let's just jump right into it. Hello, everyone. My name is Colby. I'm 18 and feel like crap all the time. My entire life has been filled with everything military. Ever since I was 2 years old, I wanted to join the military. First, it was the Navy SEALs, then Marines, and now Army. It's the only thing I find interesting. But because of my situation, I don't think I'll be able to join the military. I was never good in school, struggled in math and science, never learned the entire multiplication chart, algebra, and anything above that. I'd ask the teachers for help and explain that I don't understand any of it, and they would walk away each time. This led me to falling asleep in class every day for the rest of the year until I dropped out after completing the 8th grade. Ever since then, all I've done is play games in my bed and eat. That's why I'm 263 at 6'2". I have a part-time job doing construction, and even though it's good, I hate it. I don't want to be a mechanic or a carpenter like my father and grandfather. The only thing I do with my life is shoot guns, watch YouTube, and play games with a buddy who wants to do the same as me, but isn't because he got injured in BCT. Got a job to pay his bills, but messed up his body more because of it. The only thing I really want to do with my life is join the Army with the MOS 11X, previously 11B. For people who graduated high school and had some understanding of it, that's a really easy MOS to score. I don't know what to do. I try and practice the math crap, but when it gets hard, I keep giving up because I don't know any of it. I'm afraid that if I get a full-time job, I'll get stuck in the day in and out work and not focus on getting my GED. I've seen a recruiter and he told me I need to get down to 200 pounds and get my GED. That's all. I have no mental illnesses or physical disabilities, etc. I'm sick and tired of this life. I need it to change or I don't know what will happen. How do I make a change in my life? How do I become motivated? Thank you all for your service, and I know this might sound like something stupid compared to what you've been through, but needed event. Colby. Oh, well, thanks for sharing your story, Colby. If you guys want to share your stories, make sure to head over to the website, teamneverquit.com/podcast. There's a share your story button in the navigation. Read stories, share stories, encourage others. We love it when they do it. Bless you. Oh, man.
It's allergy season.
We love it when you share your stories.
It's like kryptonite.
Sorry. Oh, you're good. Show recap. Hey, guys, what y'all think about Ryan's interview today?
That's fun, man.
What a beard. What a man.
Yeah.
He got great insight, man. He's very well read. You can tell that he actually takes from his guests, and applies that, makes it applicable to his life, and that's value added right there. And he's all in on his podcast and we said that to him. It's like, hey, look, you literally are the definition of what people who listen to your podcast are looking for in a man. So but he also said he's the first one to tell you that, hey, look, I don't always measure up. I fall short.
Well, isn't that the definition of a man?
That's right.
If you admit it.
Yeah, I get burned like that all the time. Because the best part about our guests is they teach us something, then I'll go downstairs and have this different viewpoint on something and be like, what's wrong with you? You sick or something? You get hit? No, I just meet a lot of people.
If you guys want to check out a great podcast, Order of Man, his show it really is a great show. And I think we have a very similar audience. I think that he's got some guests that you guys will love to hear from. Some familiar guests too. Goggins has been on his show as well. And maybe Goggins shared something on his show that he didn't share on our show that you could take away.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, Goggins, he's running around the earth. He runs around everybody.
He's got something to say all the time. Yeah. So check it out, Order of Man podcast on iTunes. And while you're at it, if you want to be the first one to know when we drop a new podcast, we release them every single Wednesday. So you got to make sure you're subscribed. You can do it on your favorite podcast player. If you're using Apple Podcasts, you can press the purple subscribe button. If you use Spotify, you can subscribe. You can use it anywhere else you want. Share the episode with a friend. Follow us on social media. Mojo Luttrell, Marcus Luttrell, Andrew Brockenbush, team_never quit. And we'll see you guys next week for another episode.